And now chapter 16 of the Madhya Leela, the Lord's attempt to go to Vrindavan. By the nectar of his personal glance, the cloud known as Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu poured water upon the garden of Gaudadesh and revived the people who were like creepers and plants, burning in the forest fire of material existence. All glories to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Lord Nityananda. All glories to Advaita Chandra. And all glories to all the devotees of the Lord. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu decided to go to Vrindavan, and Maharaj Prataparudra became very morose upon hearing this news. The king therefore called for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Ramananda Roy, and he spoke the following submissive words to them. Prataparudra Maharaj said, "Please endeavor to keep Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu here at Jagannath Puri, for now he is thinking of going elsewhere. Without Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, this kingdom is not pleasing to me. Therefore, please try to devise some plan to enable the Lord to stay here." After this, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu himself consulted Ramananda Roy and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, saying, "I shall go to Vrindavan." Ramananda Roy and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya requested the Lord to observe first the Ratha Yatra festival. Then, when the month of Kartik arrived, he could go to Vrindavan. However, when the month of Kartik came, they both told the Lord, "Now it is very cold. It is better that you wait to see the Dola Yatra festival and then go. That will be very nice." In this way, they both presented many impediments, indirectly not granting the Lord permission to go to Vrindavan. They did this because they were afraid of separation from him. Although the Lord is completely independent and incapable of being checked by anyone, he still did not go without the permission of his devotees. Then for the third year, all the devotees of Bengal wanted to return again to Jagannath Puri. All the Bengali devotees gathered around Advaitacharya, and in great jubilation Advaitacharya departed to Jagannath Puri to see Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Although the Lord told Nityananda Prabhu to stay in Bengal and spread ecstatic love of God, Nityananda left to go see Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Who can understand Nityananda Prabhu's ecstatic love? All the devotees of Navadvip departed, including Acharya Ratna, Vidyanidhi, Srivas, Ramai, Vasudev, Murari, Govinda and his two brothers, and Raghava Pandit, who took bags of assorted foods. The inhabitants of Kulina Gram, carrying silken ropes, also departed. Narahari and Sri Raghunandan, who were from the village of Kanda, and many other devotees also departed. Who can count them? Shivananda Sain, who was in charge of the party, made arrangements to clear the tax-collecting centers. He took care of all the devotees and happily traveled with them. Shivananda Sain took care of all the necessities the devotees required. In particular, he made arrangements for residential quarters, and he knew the roads of Orissa. That year also, all the wives of the devotees also went to see Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Sita Devi, the mother of Achyutananda, went with Advaitacharya. Srivas Pandit also took his wife, Malini, and the wife of Shivananda Sain also went with her husband. Chaitanya Das, the son of Shivananda Sain, also jubilantly accompanied them as they went to see the Lord. The wife of Chandrasekhar also went. I cannot speak of the greatness of Chandrasekhar's love for the Lord. To offer Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu various types of food, all the wives of the great devotees brought from home various things that pleased Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As stated, Shivananda Sen used to make all arrangements for the party's necessities. In particular, he used to pacify the men in charge of levying taxes, and he found resting places for everyone. Shivananda Sen also supplied food to all the devotees and took care of them along the way. In this way, feeling great happiness, he went to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri. When they all arrived at Remuna, they went to see Lord Gopinath. In the temple there, Advaitacharya danced and chanted. All the priests of the temple had been previously acquainted with Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Therefore, they all came to offer great respects to the Lord. That night, all the great devotees remained in the temple, and the priests brought 12 pots of condensed milk, which they placed before Lord Nityananda Prabhu. When the condensed milk was placed before Nityananda Prabhu, he distributed the prasad to everyone, and thus everyone's transcendental bliss increased. They then all discussed the story of Sri Madhavendra Puri's installation of the Gopal deity, and they discussed how Gopal begged sandalwood from him. It was Gopinath who stole condensed milk for the sake of Madhavendra Puri. This incident has been previously related by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. This same narration was again related by Lord Nityananda to all the devotees, and their transcendental bliss increased as they heard the story again. Walking in this way, the devotees arrived at the city of Cuttack, where they remained for a day and saw the temple of Shakshi Gopal. When Nityananda Prabhu described all the activities of Shakshi Gopal, transcendental bliss increased in the minds of all the Vaishnavas. Everyone in the party was very anxious at heart to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, they hastily went on to Jagannath Puri. When they all arrived at a bridge called Ataranala, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, hearing the news of their arrival, sent 2 garlands with Govinda. Govinda offered the 2 garlands to Advaitacharya and Nityananda Prabhu, and they both became very happy. Indeed, they began chanting the holy name of Krishna on that very spot, and dancing, both Advaitacharya and Nityananda Prabhu reached Jagannath Puri. Then, for the second time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent garlands through Svarup Damodar and other personal associates. Thus, they went forward, sent by the son of Mother Shachi. When the devotees from Bengal reached Lake Narendra, Svarup Damodar and the others met them and offered them the garlands given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When the devotees finally reached the Lion Gate, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the news and personally went to meet them. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all his devotees visited Lord Jagannath. Finally, accompanied by them all, he returned to his own residence. Vaninath Rai and Kashi Mishra then brought a large quantity of prasad, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu distributed it with his own hand and fed them all. In the previous year, everyone had his own particular residence, and the same residences were again offered. Thus they all went to take rest. For 4 continuous months, all the devotees remained there and enjoyed chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As in the previous year, they all washed the Gundicha temple when the time for Ratha Yatra arrived. The inhabitants of Kulinagram delivered silken ropes to Lord Jagannath, and as previously, they all danced before the Lord's car. After dancing a great deal, they all went to a nearby garden and took rest beside a lake. One Brahmin named Krishnadas, who was a resident of Radhadesh and a servant of Lord Nityananda's, was a very fortunate person. It was Krishnadas who filled a great water pot and poured it over the Lord while he was taking his bath. The Lord was greatly satisfied by this. The remnants of food offered to the Lord at Balagandi then arrived in great quantity, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all his devotees ate it. As in the previous year, the Lord, with all the devotees, saw the Ratha Yatra festival and the Hera Panchami festival as well. Advaita Acharya then extended an invitation to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and there was a great rainstorm connected with that incident. All these episodes have been elaborately described by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. Then one day, Srivas Thakur extended an invitation to the Lord. The Lord's favored vegetables were cooked by Malini Devi, the wife of Srivas Thakur. She devotedly considered herself a maidservant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, but in affection she was just like a mother. All the chief devotees, headed by Chandra Shekhar, used to extend invitations to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu periodically. At the end of the 4-month Chaturmasya period, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again consulted with Nityananda Prabhu daily in a solitary place. No one could understand what their consultation was about. Then Srila Advaita Acharya said something to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through gestures and read some poetic passages which no one understood. Seeing the face of Advaita Acharya, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled. Understanding that the Lord had accepted the proposal, Advaita Acharya started to dance. No one knew what Advaita Acharya requested or what the Lord ordered. After embracing the Acharya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bade him farewell. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then told Nityananda Prabhu, "Please hear me, O holy man. I now request something of you. Kindly grant my request. Do not come to Jagannath Puri every year, but stay in Bengal and fulfill my desire. You can perform a task that even I cannot do. But for you, I cannot find anyone in Godadesh who can fulfill my mission there." Nityananda replied, "O Lord, you are the life, and I am the body. There is no difference between the body and the life itself, but life is more important than the body. By your inconceivable energy, you can do whatever you like, and whatever you make me do, I do without restriction." In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Nityananda Prabhu and bade him farewell. He then bade farewell to all the other devotees. As in the previous year, one of the inhabitants of Kulina Gram submitted a petition to the Lord saying, "My Lord, kindly tell me what my duty is and how I should execute it." The Lord replied, "You should engage yourself in the service of the servants of Krishna, and always chant the holy names of Krishna. If you do these 2 things, you will very soon attain shelter at Krishna's lotus feet." The inhabitant of Kulina Gram said, "Please let me know who is actually a Vaishnava and what his symptoms are." Understanding his mind, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled and gave the following reply. A person who is always chanting the holy name of the Lord is to be considered a first-class Vaishnava, and your duty is to serve his lotus feet. The following year, the inhabitants of Kulina Gram again asked the Lord the same question. Hearing this question, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again taught them about the different types of Vaishnavas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "A first-class Vaishnava is he whose very presence makes others chant the holy name of Krishna." In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed different types of Vaishnavas: the Vaishnav, the Vaishnavatar, and Vaishnavatma. He thus successively explained all the symptoms of a Vaishnav to the inhabitants of Kulina Gram. Finally, all the Vaishnavas returned to Bengal, but that year, Pundarik Vidyanidhi remained at Jagannath Puri. Svarup Damodar Goswami and Pundarik Vidyanidhi had a friendly, intimate relationship, and as far as discussing topics about Krishna, they were situated on the same platform. Pundarik Vidyanidhi initiated Gadadhar Pandit for the second time, and on the day of Odana Shasti, he saw the festival. When Pundarik Vidyanidhi saw that Lord Jagannath was given a starched garment, he became a little hateful. In this way, his mind was polluted. That night, the brothers Lord Jagannath and Balaram came to Pundarik Vidyanidhi and, smiling, began to slap him. Although his cheeks were swollen from the slapping, Pundarik Vidyanidhi was very happy within. This incident has been elaborately described by Thakur Vrindavan Das. Every year the devotees of Bengal would come and stay with Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to see the Ratha Yatra festival. Whatever happened during those years that is worth noting shall be described later. Thus Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu passed 4 years. He spent the first 2 years on his tour in South India. The other 2 years, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to go to Vrindavan, but he could not leave Jagannath Puri because of Ramananda Rai's tricks. During the 5th year, the devotees from Bengal came to see the Ratha Yatra festival. After seeing it, they did not stay, but returned to Bengal. Then Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu placed a proposal before Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Ramananda Rai. He embraced them and spoke sweet words. Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, "My desire to go to Vrindavan has very much increased. Because of your tricks, I have not been able to go there for the past 2 years. But this time I must go. Will you please give me your permission? Save for you too, I have no other resort. In Bengal I have 2 shelters, my mother and the river Ganges. Both of them are very merciful. I shall go to Vrindavan through Bengal and see both my mother and the river Ganges. Now would you too be pleased to give me permission?" When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Ramananda Roy heard these words, they began to consider that it was not at all good that they played so many tricks on the Lord. They both said, "Now that the rainy season is here, it will be difficult for you to travel. It is better to wait for Vijaya Dashmi before departing for Vrindavan." Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to thus receive their permission. He waited until the rainy season passed, and when the day of Vijaya Dashmi arrived, he departed for Vrindavan. The Lord collected whatever remnants of food were left by Lord Jagannath. He also took remnants of the Lord's Kadara ointment, sandalwood, and ropes with him. After taking Lord Jagannath's permission early in the morning, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu departed, and all the devotees of Orissa began following him. It was with great care that Caitanya Mahaprabhu forbade the Orissa devotees to follow him. Accompanied by personal associates, he first went to Bhavanipur. After Lord Chaitanya reached Bhavanipur, Ramananda Roy arrived on his palanquin, and Vaninath Roy had a large quantity of prasad sent to the Lord. After taking prasad, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu remained there for the night. Early in the morning, he began walking, and finally reached Bhuvaneshwar. After reaching the city of Katak, he saw the temple of Gopal, and a Brahmin there named Svapneshwar invited the Lord to eat. Ramananda Roy invited all the others for their meals, and Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu made his resting place in a garden outside the temple. While Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was taking rest beneath a bakula tree, Ramananda Roy immediately went to Maharaj Prataparudra. The king was very happy to hear the news, and he hastily went there. Upon seeing the Lord, he fell flat to offer him obeisances. Being overwhelmed with love, the king again and again got up and fell down. When he offered prayers, his whole body shivered, and tears fell from his eyes. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to see the king's devotion, and he therefore stood up and embraced him. When the Lord embraced the king again and again offered prayers and obeisances. In this way, the Lord's mercy brought tears from the king, and the Lord's body was bathed with these tears. Finally, Ramananda Roy pacified the king and made him sit down. The Lord also bestowed mercy upon him through his body, mind, and words. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu showed such mercy to the king that from that day on, the Lord became known as Prataparudra Santrata, the deliverer of Maharaj Prataparudra. All the government officers also paid their respects to the Lord, and finally the king and his men were bade farewell by the son of Mother Shachi. The king then went outside and had orders written down and sent to the government servants within his kingdom. His orders read, "In every village you should construct new residences, and in 5 or 7 new houses you should store all kinds of food. You should personally take the Lord to these newly constructed houses. Day and night you should engage in his service with a stick in your hands." The king ordered 2 respectable officers named Harichandan and Mardaraj to do whatever was necessary to carry out these orders. The king also ordered them to maintain a new boat on the banks of the river, and wherever Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu took his bath or crossed to the other side of the river, they should establish a memorial column and make that place a great place of pilgrimage. "Indeed," said the king, "I will take my bath there, and let me also die there." At Chaturvar, please construct new residential quarters. Now, Ramananda, you can return to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. When the king heard that the Lord was leaving that evening, he immediately made arrangements for some elephants with small tents on their backs to be brought there. Then all the ladies of the palace got on the elephants. All these ladies went to the road the Lord was taking and remained there in a line. That evening the Lord departed with his devotees. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu went to the bank of the river Chitrotpala to take his bath, all the queens and ladies of the palace offered their obeisances to him. Upon seeing the Lord, they all felt themselves overwhelmed with love of Godhead, and tears pouring from their eyes, they began to chant the holy name Krishna, Krishna. There is no one as merciful as Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu within all 3 worlds. Simply by seeing him from a distance, one is overwhelmed with love of Godhead. The Lord then got into a new boat and crossed the river. Walking in the full moonlight, he finally reached the town known as Chaturdvar. The Lord spent the night there, and in the morning took his bath. At that time, remnants of Lord Jagannath's food arrived. Following the king's orders, the superintendent of the temple sent large quantities of prasad every day, and it was carried by many persons. After accepting the prasad, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu stood up and started to go, chanting the holy names, Hari, Hari. Ramananda Roy, Mardaraj, and Sri Harichandan always went with Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and rendered various services. Paramananda Puri Goswami, Svarup Damodar, Jagadananda, Mukunda, Govinda, Kashishvar, Haridas Thakur, Vakrishvar Pandit, Gopinathacharya, Damodar Pandit, Ramai, Nandai, and many other devotees accompanied the Lord. I have mentioned only the chief devotees. No one can describe the total number. When Gadadhar Pandit started to go with the Lord, he was forbidden to come and was asked not to give up the vow of kshetra sannyas. When he was requested to return to Jagannath Puri, Gadadhar Pandit told the Lord, "Wherever you are staying is Jagannath Puri. Let my so-called kshetra sannyas go to hell." When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Gadadhar Pandit to remain at Jagannath Puri and engage in Gopinath service, Gadadhar Pandit replied, "One renders service to Gopinath 1,000,000 times simply by seeing your lotus feet." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, "If you abandon his service, it will be my fault. It is better that you remain here and render service. That will be my satisfaction." The Pandit replied, "Do not worry. All the faults will be on my head. I shall not accompany you, but shall go alone. I shall go see Sachi Mata, but I shall not go for your sake. I shall be responsible for the abandoning of my vow and service to Gopinath." Thus Gadadhar Pandit traveled alone. But when they all arrived at Katak, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called him, and he went to the Lord's company. No one can understand the loving intimacy between Gadadhar Pandit and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gadadhar Pandit gave up his vow and service to Gopinath just as one gives up a piece of straw. Gadadhar Pandit's behavior was very pleasing to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heart. Nevertheless, the Lord took his hand and spoke to him, displaying the anger of love. "You have abandoned Gopinath's service and broken your vow to live in Puri. All that is now complete because you have come so far. Your wanting to go with me is simply a desire for sense gratification. In this way, you are breaking 2 religious principles, and because of this, I am very unhappy. If you want my happiness, please return to Nilachal. You will simply condemn me if you say any more about this matter." Saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got into a boat, and Gadadhar Pandit immediately fell down in an unconscious state. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to take Gadadhar Pandit with him. The Bhattacharya told Gadadhar Pandit, "Get up, such are the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You should know that Lord Krishna himself violated his own promise just to keep the promise of grandfather Bhishma. As Bhishma says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, intending to make my promise true, Lord Krishna broke his own promise not to take up a weapon at Kurukshetra. With his outer garment falling off, Lord Sri Krishna jumped up from his chariot, picked up a wheel, and came running at me to kill me. Indeed, he rushed at me like a lion going to kill an elephant, and he caused the whole earth to tremble. Similarly, tolerating your separation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has protected your vow with great endeavor." In this way, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya revived Gadadhar Pandit. Then both of them, very much grief-stricken, returned to Jagannath Puri, or Nilachal. All the devotees would abandon all kinds of duties for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sake, yet the Lord did not like the devotees giving up their promised duties. All these are the misgivings of loving affairs. Whoever listens to these incidents gets Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's shelter very soon. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his party arrived at Yajapur, the Lord asked the 2 government officers who had come with him to return. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bade farewell to the officers, and Rai Ramananda continued on with the Lord. The Lord talked to Ramananda Roy about Sri Krishna day and night. In each and every village, in compliance with the king's order, government officers constructed new houses and filled each of them with stocks of grains. Thus they served the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu finally arrived at Remuna, where he bade farewell to Sri Ramananda Roy. When Ramananda Roy fell to the ground and lost consciousness, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took him upon his lap and began to cry. Ramananda Roy's separation from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very difficult to describe. It is almost intolerable, and therefore I cannot describe it further. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu finally arrived at the border of the state of Orissa, a government officer came there to meet him. For 2 or 4 days, the government officer served the Lord. He also gave the Lord detailed information of what was ahead. He informed the Lord that the territory ahead was ruled by a Muslim governor who was a drunkard. Out of fear for the king, no one could walk on the road freely. The jurisdiction of the Mohammedan government extended up to Pichalada. Due to fear of the Mohammedans, no one would cross the river. Maharaj Prataparudra's government officer further informed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he should stay at the Orissa border for some days, so that a peaceful agreement could be negotiated with the Mohammedan governor. In that way, the Lord would be able to cross the river peacefully in a boat. At that time, a follower of the Mohammedan governor arrived at the Orissa encampment dressed in disguise. The Mohammedan spy saw the wonderful characteristics of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and when he returned to the Mohammedan governor, he told him, "A mendicant has come from Jagannath Puri with many liberated persons. All these saintly people incessantly chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and they all laugh, dance, chant, and cry. Many millions upon millions of people have come to see him, and after they see him, they cannot return home. All these people become like madmen. They simply dance and chant the holy name of Krishna. Sometimes they even cry and roll on the ground. Actually, these things cannot even be described. One can understand them only by seeing. By his influence, I accept him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead." After saying this, the messenger began to chant the holy names of Hari and Krishna. He also began to laugh and cry, dance and sing exactly like a madman. Upon hearing this, the mind of the Mohammedan governor was changed. He then sent his own secretary to the representative of the Orissan government. The Mohammedan secretary came to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he offered his respects to the Lord's lotus feet and uttered the holy name of the Lord, Krishna, Krishna, he also was overwhelmed with ecstatic love. After calming down, the Mohammedan secretary offered his respects and informed the representative of the Orissan government, "The Mohammedan governor has sent me here. If you agree, the Mohammedan governor will come here to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and then return. The Mohammedan governor is very eager, and he has submitted this petition with great respect. It is a proposal for peace. You need not fear that we will fight." Upon hearing this proposal, the representative of the Orissan government, the Mahapatra, was very astonished. He thought, "The Mohammedan governor is a drunkard. Who has changed his mind? It must be Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself who has changed the Mohammedan's mind. Due to his presence, and even due to his remembrance, the whole world is liberated." After thinking this, the Mahapatra immediately informed the Mohammedan secretary, "It is a great fortune for your governor. Let him come visit Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. However, let me make it understood that he should come here without weapons. He may bring with him 5 or 7 servants." The secretary returned to the Mohammedan governor and informed him of the news. Dressing himself like a Hindu, the Mohammedan governor then came to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Upon seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from a distant place, the Mohammedan governor fell to the ground and offered obeisances. Tears came to his eyes, and he was jubilant with ecstatic emotions. Arriving in that way, the Mohammedan governor was respectfully brought before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by the Mahapatra. The governor then stood before the Lord with folded hands, and he chanted the holy name of Krishna. The governor then submissively asked, "Why was I born in a Mohammedan family? This is considered a low birth. Why didn't Supreme Providence grant me a birth in a Hindu family? If I had taken birth in a Hindu family, it would have been easy for me to remain near your lotus feet. Since my body is now useless, let me die immediately." Upon hearing the governor's submissive statement, the Mahapatra was overwhelmed with joy. He clasped the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and began to offer the following prayers. "Simply by hearing your holy name, a Chandala, the lowest of men, can be purified. Now this conditioned soul has received your personal interview. It is no wonder that this Mohammedan governor has attained such results. Simply by seeing you, all this is possible. To say nothing of the spiritual advancement of persons who see the Supreme Person face to face, even a person born in a family of dog-eaters becomes immediately eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices if he once utters the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or chants about him, hears about his pastimes, offers him obeisances, or even remembers him." Such is the conclusion of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then glanced with mercy at the Mohammedan governor. Giving him assurance, he asked him to chant the holy names Krishna and Hari. The Mohammedan governor then said, "Since you have so kindly accepted me, please give me some order so that I can render you some service." The Mohammedan governor then prayed for liberation from the unlimited sinful activities he had previously incurred by being envious of Brahmins and Vaishnavas and killing cows. Mukunda Dutt then told the Mohammedan governor, "My dear sir, please hear. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu wishes to go to the bank of the Ganges. Please give him all assistance so that he can go there. This is your first great order, and if you can comply, you will render a great service." After this, the Mohammedan governor offered prayers to the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, as well as to the lotus feet of all his devotees. After that, the governor departed. Indeed, he was very pleased. Before the governor left, the Mahapatra embraced him and offered him many material gifts. He thus established a friendship with him. The next morning, the governor sent his secretary with many nicely decorated boats to bring Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to the other side of the river. The Mahapatra crossed the river with Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and when they reached the other shore, the Mohammedan governor personally received the Lord and worshipped his lotus feet. One of the boats had been newly constructed, and it had a room in the middle. It was on this boat that they put Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. Finally, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu bade farewell to the Mahapatra. Standing on the river bank and looking at the boat, the Mahapatra began to cry. The Mohammedan governor then personally accompanied Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Because of pirates, the governor took 10 boats, which were full with many soldiers. The Mohammedan governor accompanied Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu past Mantreshwar. This place was very dangerous due to pirates. He took the Lord to a place named Pishalda, which was near Mantreshwar. Finally, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu bade the governor farewell. The intense ecstatic love exhibited by the governor cannot be described. Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes are all uncommon. Whoever listens to his activities becomes glorious, and his life becomes perfect. The Lord finally reached Panihati, and as an act of mercy, he gave the captain of the boat one of his personal garments. The place called Panihati was located on the bank of the Ganges. After hearing that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had arrived, all kinds of men assembled both on land and on the water. At length, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taken away by Raghava Pandit. There was a great crowd assembled along the way, and the Lord reached Raghava Pandit's residence with great difficulty. The Lord stayed at Raghava Pandit's place for only one day. The next morning he went to Kumarahatta, where Srivas Thakur lived. From the house of Srivas Thakur, the Lord went to the house of Shivananda Sen, and then to the house of Vasudev Dutt. The Lord remained some time at the house of Vidyavachaspati, and then, because it was too crowded, he went to Kulia. When the Lord stayed at the house of Madhavadas, many hundreds and thousands of people came to see him. The Lord stayed there for 7 days, and delivered all kinds of offenders and sinners. After leaving Kulia, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the house of Advaitacharya at Shantipur. It was there that the Lord's mother, Shachi Mata, met him and was thus relieved of her great unhappiness. The Lord then visited the village known as Ramkeli and the place known as Kanai Natashala. From there he returned to Shantipur. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed in Shantipur for 10 days. This has all been described very elaborately by Vrindavan Das Thakur. I will not narrate these incidents because they have already been described by Vrindavan Das Thakur. There is no need to repeat the same information, for such repetition would unlimitedly increase the size of this book. Those narrations tell how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met the brothers Rupa and Sanatan, and how Nrsingananda decorated the road. I have already described these in an earlier synopsis of this book. Therefore, I will not repeat the narrations here. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Shantipur, Raghunath Das came to meet him. Two brothers named Hiranya and Govardhan, who were residents of Saptagram, had an income of 1,200,000 rupees. Both Hiranya Mujumadar and Govardhan Mujumadar were very opulent and magnanimous. They were well behaved and devoted to Brahminical culture. They belonged to an aristocratic family, and among religionists they were predominant. Practically all the Brahmins residing in Madhya were dependent on the charity of Hiranya and Govardhan, who gave them money, land, and villages. Nilambar Chakravarti, the grandfather of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was much worshipped by the two brothers, but Nilambar Chakravarti used to treat them as his own brothers. Formerly, these two brothers rendered much service to Mishra Purandara, the father of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because of this, the Lord knew of them very well. Raghunath Das was the son of Govardhan Mujumadar. From childhood, he was uninterested in material enjoyment. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Shantipur after accepting the renounced order, Raghunath Das met him. When Raghunath Das went to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he fell at the lotus feet of the Lord in ecstatic love. Showing him mercy, the Lord touched him with his feet. Raghunath Das' father, Govardhan, always rendered much service to Advaitacharya. Consequently, Advaitacharya was very pleased with the family. When Raghunath Das was there, Advaitacharya favored him by giving him the food remnants left by the Lord. Raghunath Das was thus engaged for 5 or 7 days by rendering service to the Lord's lotus feet. After bidding farewell to Raghunath Das, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Jagannath Puri. After returning home, Raghunath Das became mad with ecstatic love. Raghunath Das used to run away from home again and again to go to Jagannath Puri, but his father kept binding him and bringing him back. His father had 5 watchmen guard him day and night. 4 personal servants were employed to look after his comfort, and 2 Brahmins were employed to cook for him. In this way, 11 people were incessantly keeping Raghunath Das under control. Thus he could not go to Jagannath Puri, and because of this, he was very unhappy. When Raghunath Das learned that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had arrived at Shantipur, he submitted a request to his father. Raghunath Das asked his father, "Please give me permission to go see the lotus feet of the Lord. If you do not, my life will not remain within this body." Hearing this request, Raghunath Das' father agreed. Giving him many servants and materials, the father sent him to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, requesting him to return soon. For 7 days, Raghunath Das associated with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Shantipur. During those days and nights, he had the following thoughts. Raghunath Das thought, "How shall I be able to get free from the hands of the watchmen? How shall I be able to go with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Nilachal?" Since Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was omniscient, he could understand Raghunath Das' mind. The Lord therefore instructed him with the following reassuring words. "Be patient and return home. Don't be a crazy fellow. By and by, you will be able to cross the ocean of material existence. You should not make yourself a show-bottle devotee and become a false renunciant. For the time being, enjoy the material world in a befitting way, and do not become attached to it. Within your heart, you should keep yourself very faithful, but externally, you may behave like an ordinary man. Thus Krishna will soon be very pleased and deliver you from the clutches of Maya. You may see me at Nilachal or Jagannath Puri when I return after visiting Vrindavan. By that time, you can think of some trick to escape. What kind of means you will have to use at that time will be revealed by Krishna. If one has Krishna's mercy, no one can check him." In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bade farewell to Raghunath Das, who returned home and did exactly what the Lord told him. After returning home, Raghunath Das gave up all craziness and external pseudo-renunciation, and engaged in his household duties without attachment. When Raghunath Das' father and mother saw that their son was acting like a householder, they became very happy. Because of this, they slackened their guard. Meanwhile, at Shantipur, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu assembled all his devotees, headed by Advaitacharya and Nityananda Prabhu, embraced them all, and asked their permission to return to Jagannath Puri. Because he had met them all at Shantipur, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested all the devotees not to go to Jagannath Puri that year. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "I shall certainly go to Vrindavan from Jagannath Puri. If all of you give me permission, I shall return here again without difficulty." Clasping the feet of his mother, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very humbly requested her permission. Thus she gave him leave to go to Vrindavan. Srimati Shachi Devi was sent back to Navadvip, and the Lord and his devotees started for Jagannath Puri, Niladri. The devotees who accompanied Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rendered all kinds of service on the way to Nilachal, or Jagannath Puri. Thus, in great happiness, the Lord returned. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived in Jagannath Puri, he visited the temple of the Lord. News then spread all over the city that he had returned. All the devotees then came and met the Lord with great happiness. The Lord also embraced each of them in great ecstatic love. Kashi Mishra, Ramananda Rai, Pradyumna, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Baninath Rai, Sikhi Mahiti, and all the other devotees met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gadadhar Pandit also came and met the Lord. Then before all the devotees, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to speak as follows. It was my decision to go to Vrindavan through Bengal in order to see my mother and the river Ganges. Thus I went to Bengal, but thousands of devotees began to follow me. Many hundreds and thousands of people came to see me out of curiosity, and due to such a large crowd, I could not travel very freely on the road. Indeed, the crowd was so large that the house and the boundary walls of the house where I stayed were destroyed, and wherever I looked, I could see only large crowds. With great difficulty, I went to the town of Ramakeli, where I met two brothers named Rupa and Sanatan. These two brothers are great devotees and suitable recipients of Krishna's mercy. But in their ordinary dealings, they are government officials, ministers to the king. Srila Rupa and Sri Sanatan are very experienced in education, devotional service, intelligence, and strength, yet they think themselves inferior to straw in the street. Indeed, the humility of these two brothers could even melt stone. Because I was very pleased with their behavior, I told them, "Although you are both very exalted, you consider yourselves inferior, and because of this, Krishna will very soon deliver you." After speaking to them in this way, I bade them farewell. As I was leaving, Sanatan told me, "It is not appropriate for one to be followed by a crowd of thousands when one goes to Vrindavan." Although I heard this, I did not pay it any attention. But in the morning, however, I went to the place named Caitanya. At night, however, I considered what Sanatan had told me. I decided that Sanatan had spoken very well. I was certainly being followed by a large crowd, and when people would see so many men, they would surely rebuke me, saying, "Here is another impostor." I then began to consider that Vrindavan is a very solitary place. It is invincible and very difficult to attain. I therefore decided to go there alone, or at the most, take only one person with me. Madhavendra Puri went to Vrindavan alone, and Krishna, on the pretext of giving him milk, granted him an audience. I then understood that I was going to Vrindavan like a magician with his show, and this is certainly not good. No one should go to Vrindavan with so many men. I have therefore resolved to go alone, or at the utmost with one servant. In this way, my journey to Vrindavan will be beautiful. I thought, instead of going to Vrindavan alone, I am going with soldiers and the beating of drums. I therefore said, "Fie upon me," and being very agitated, I returned to the banks of the Ganges. I then left all the devotees there, and brought only 5 or 6 persons with me. Now I wish that you will all be pleased with me, and give me good consultation. Tell me how I shall be able to go to Vrindavan without impediments. I left Gadadhar Pandit here, and he became very unhappy. For this reason, I could not go to Vrindavan. Being encouraged by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's words, Gadadhar Pandit became absorbed in ecstatic love. Immediately clasping the lotus feet of the Lord, he began to speak with great humility. Gadadhar Pandit said, "Wherever you stay is Vrindavan, as well as the river Yamuna, the river Ganges, and all other places of pilgrimage. Although wherever you stay is Vrindavan, you still go to Vrindavan just to instruct people. Otherwise, you do whatever you think best." Taking this opportunity, Gadadhar Pandit said, "Just now the 4 months of the rainy season have begun. You should therefore spend the next 4 months in Jagannath Puri. After remaining here for 4 months, you may be free to do as you like. Actually, no one can stop you from going or remaining." Upon hearing this statement, all the devotees present at the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu stated that Gadadhar Pandit had properly presented their desire. Being requested by all the devotees, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu agreed to remain at Jagannath Puri for 4 months. Hearing this, King Prataparudra became very happy. That day, Gadadhar Pandit extended an invitation to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Lord took his lunch at his place with the other devotees. No ordinary human being can possibly describe Gadadhar Pandit's affectionate presentation of food, and Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's tasting this food. In this way, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu performs his pastimes, which are unlimited and unfathomable. somehow or other, these have been briefly described. It is not possible to describe them elaborately. Although Lord Anantadev is always describing the pastimes of the Lord with his thousands of mouths, he cannot reach the end of even one of the Lord's pastimes. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, following in their footsteps. This ends chapter 16 of the Madhya Lila, the Lord's attempt to go to Vrindavan.